Ms. Fischbach is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first of all, Ambassador, I'd just like to say Congresswoman Tenney brought up the Canadian border. The entire northern part of my district is borders Canada, and so that dairy producer, that issue is very, very important to me, and so I appreciate the update. I won't make you give it again since we just got it. But, you know, I also did want to just thank you for pressing Mexico as it relates to the unscientific ban of the GMO corn imports. And I do want to say for the record that while consultations can be helpful, I fail to see an obvious reason for delaying a formal dispute resolution process that you've already used effectively for the Canadian dairy issue. I firmly believe it's time to utilize this important tool and urge you to do so as soon as possible, because I think it's been mentioned, that issue's been mentioned a couple of times. And while I appreciate the work on the enforcement side, Ambassador, I want to address something broader and more consequential. I was reading through your written testimony, and I saw a lot of words like framework, arrangement, and initiative, but I failed to see a single mention of the of USTR pursuing the word agreement. And my district in western Minnesota is a top agricultural producing region in the country, and the rural economies in my district depend on those products being exported to markets across the world. Between a quarter to half of everything we produce in western Minnesota is headed overseas. This lack of ambition in pursuing new agreements, particularly for ag exports, is putting farmers in my district at a disadvantage. For the first time, the U.S. is set to be a net importer of agricultural goods. I urge you to be more aggressive in pursuing new export opportunities for farmers in my district and across the country. Getting a little bit more specific, I hear often about non-tariff trade barriers that our trading partners use to block producers in my district to export into their markets. For example, the EU's use of geographic indicators to monopolize generic cheese name, or Taiwan's barriers to U.S. pork exports. Resolutions of these issues certainly won't promise the benefit of full trade agreements, but will help correct the current trade imbalance we are seeing in agriculture. What are you and your team doing to address these and other issues of non-tariff barriers blocking access to U.S. agricultural goods?
Thank you for this question. We are doing a lot. I have an A+ agricultural trade team, and just had my chief agricultural negotiator confirmed by the Senate on December 22nd. We swore him in first week of January. He has hit the ground running. He is exactly the force amplifier that we needed, on top of the head of my ag office and a very dedicated team. So where non-tariff trade barriers come up, especially in ag, we've also got good reach into USDA. We pursue those with the specific country when they come up. I'm delighted to let you know that there are a number of wins that we have over the course of the last 2 years. Our pecan farmers, our beef producers, and also our growers. You know, the SPS and the science-based, risk-based negotiations that we are doing right now in the Indo-Pacific context and also in others are exactly key to that aspect of non-tariff barriers that a lot of our agricultural producers face. And we're also working very, very robustly. For example, the East African community has issued their first joint SPS notification, which we welcomed. We have wins with Ecuador when they declined to implement a ban on powdered milk imports, and at the WTO as well. My team, again, this part of our very robust Geneva work that often goes unsung, is very, very robustly engaged on SPS issues and other non-tariff barrier issues, with a lot of focus on our agricultural sector.
Well, and Ambassador, I really appreciate your response, but I do want to reiterate the need for a more aggressive stance when it comes to pursuing new agreements and more market access for our agricultural goods. It's just so important to our economy all across the country, and I look forward to working with you on it, and with that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chairman, Ranking Member.